name is Cynthia Jones Parks. I'm President and CEO of Jones Worley. We are a strategic branding and communications firm located in Midtown Atlanta. I'm also on the board of the Atlanta Business League, and I serve as your Vice Chair of Education. The Education Committee is responsible for the development of continuing education programs to include seminars and training based on your needs. Our topics range from human resources to personnel issues to bidding. We hope you will join us for one of our upcoming programs. June 5th, we're going to be talking about business financing. August 7th, we'll be talking about retirement planning. And September 11th, estate planning. So if you're interested in joining my committee, feel free to join us tomorrow at the ABL offices at 1 o'clock. Also, before I take my seat, I'd like to encourage you to participate in our 5% Solution Initiative. Each year, the Atlanta Business League delves into strategies and tactics to impact Metro Atlanta's economic viability through the ABL's 5% solution. The solution encourages Black consumers, businesses, and organizations to increase annual spending with Black businesses by 5%, and recommends that Black businesses increase their annual giving to Black community organizations by 5% each year. This initiative, with your support, will do great things for our community. We have a great program planned, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. J.L. Wilson is our member spotlight, and he will be speaking with you next. J.L.
Good evening. First, I want to say thanks to Leona and the Atlanta Business League for this opportunity. And Cynthia, I want you to know that I am doing my 5%. I just changed my auto insurance to an African American agent. My wife was very happy to do that because we saved some money. Again, my name is J.L. Wilson, and that is J.L. initials. Doesn't stand for anything, in case anybody's wondering. I am a longtime member of the Atlanta Business League. I've been 23 plus years as a member of the Atlanta Business League, and proud to say it. Also, I'm celebrating a milestone this year, is 25 years in business, September 2nd. So I'm pleased to say that as well. Who are we? Wilco Financial Group is a solution-driven, full-service employee benefits, insurance, and business insurance consulting firm. We work with individuals, we work with small businesses to help them provide the employee benefits that they need to maintain and retain their valued employees. We work with, again, small and mid-sized employees. We develop such things as health insurance programs, dental insurance programs, life insurance programs, short-term disability, long-term disability, and business insurance. If you have a valued employee that you want to keep as an executive, we help you design those executive benefit programs to keep those employees on the payroll. We also work with strategic partners, and for those services that we cannot provide, we partner with some ABL members, we partner with some of the other members in my industry to help get those done as well. And what's in it for you? What is it that you gain from working with the Wilco Financial Group? In addition to the normal benefits that you would expect to receive from an employee benefits consultant person, we like to think outside of the box. My background is in engineering, and they teach you to solve problems. As the entire theme of it is define the problem, define the need. So we work with employees, we work with individuals, we work with business owners to define what it is you're trying to accomplish. What are your goals in offering this employee benefit? Is it something that you're doing because your competition is doing it, or are you doing it because there's a value add that you want to generate for your employees to keep them on board? So we help you try and get outside of the box and think about some other things that may be beneficial to you and ways of saving money. For example, for an individual who's trying to generate a guaranteed tax-free retirement income in addition to your 401k programs. Most of us as African Americans hadn't thought about using life insurance as a tax-free income generating tool, but it's something that can be done, and it can be done very effectively and with an excellent return on your investment. Something called a private or personal pension plan. A lot of companies now are doing away with their pension plans. They have 401k plans. Well, we all know 401k plans are not guaranteed. We lost 40, 50% of our value in the last 5 years. So what do you do to replace those guaranteed incomes when you retire? You can't depend on Social Security anymore. You need a private pension plans. There's a way we can set that up to make sure that you have at least a base income guaranteed when you retire. Even though you're doing it now, you're young, you're still working, we can set it up today so you know exactly what your retirement income is going to be when you decide to retire. How to set up a 401k plan for a self-employed individual. Not only can you get a tax deduction for your contribution, but you can deposit up to $50,000 in 2012 and deduct it off of your taxes, assuming you're generating the revenues to be able to do that. Creating a legacy plan. One of the things that one of my carriers, New York Life, is offering is promoting is a $50 billion campaign to help generate within the African American community over the next 5 years $50 billion of generational wealth. And that's through all of the African American agents that are employed through New York Life. The goal is to educate us, to let us know that life insurance can do a lot more than just provide a burial fund. So we can help you with some generational legacy planning if that's something that's in your repertoire. And the last thing I want to mention here real quickly is helping you understand how you and your employees can benefit from the Patient Protection Act, better known as Obamacare. That's a long discussion, and we don't have time to go into it tonight, but those are some of the things that we can talk about. And if you guys have heard anything that's of interest to you tonight, please feel free to give us a call. You can find us on the ABL website. You can Google us, or I can give you my number, which is 404-209-0041. And again, thank you, Leona. Thank you, ABL.
Good evening, everyone. It's a very quiet, reserved crowd here tonight, Leona. My name is Imara Kennedy, and I have the honor of serving as Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Programming for the new National Center for Civil and Human Rights. And I know you all know this lovely lady, who is Scarlett Presley Brown, who is a wonderful loaned executive working with the center in our marketing efforts with Delta Airlines. And we are so pleased that Scarlett is now physically there helping us, because she's been helping us in so many initiatives and efforts along the way, and she is helping to take us to the next level. And we're going to just quickly, we thought that a PowerPoint would help to also show some visuals, because so many folks have heard about the institution, or we hope you've heard about the institution, but don't know all the nitty-gritty details about it. First, quite honestly, the mission of the center is really to continue the universal search for a secure human existence in a way that inspires vigilance and leadership among future generations. Sorry, next slide, I'm sorry. I'm used to being the one in control, so I forgot I got to work with Nicholas here. And really, in essence, the center has been developed in preparing for the next generation, knowing that now, if you're not tweeting or Facebooking or texting or meeting them in technology, that we lose that next generation. And Sonny Walker, who is here, I know many know, is also involved with us as a campaign consultant. We were talking about earlier about how do you capture and ensure that the next generation is aware of the teachings and history and lessons of the past and the present, so that they will know how to move and respond in the future. Next slide. There's really two parts that we can look at in terms of the center. One is as a cultural institution, which is a physical facility welcoming hundreds of thousands of visitors each year to Atlanta. With civil and human rights exhibitions, we will of course have an auditorium, broadcast studio space, and event space, and we look forward to, once we're open in the year 2014, that Leona will know that it's only right that she will shift some of these programs over to the center. Put in a little plug now, you always got to put that's right, needing the plugs, and of course, be able to host a series of unforgettable speakers, unique films, and transformational events. Now I'm going to let Scarlett talk about the other piece, which is as a resource there.
Thank you. So as a resource, the center will serve as, we will have their web-based portals of historical and current information about social movements. There will be a basic framework for understanding the human rights issues in our world today. And there will be training for corporate leaders, teachers, and parents. So often we hear of corporations looking for opportunities to teach diversity, to teach various disciplines. We'll be able to house that there at the center and welcome them in to do their training there. Sometimes it's better when it's done away from the corporate office, so we'll be the facility that they can use.
And just quickly to kind of take you through a snapshot of the center's development really over the last 7 to 8 years. If you know Mayor Shirley Franklin, she will tell you that Evelyn Lowry and Ambassador Young separately came to her about that she needed to be the one to develop what was then a civil rights museum in the city of Atlanta. Now, for those of you all who have been in Atlanta, even for the last 7 or 8 years, you know that when we came into office, there were severe city issues that needed to be dealt with, and Mayor Franklin then kind of put it on the back burner. But in fast forwarding, came back into her second term as mayor and revisited this idea. So in 2005, the Boston Consulting Group did a case study basically ensuring that this idea was sustainable, that Atlanta was the right place for it, and that we wouldn't spend a lot of time and energy of building this and raising lots of money, and then a year or two into it, it would close the doors. So hence, the feedback that came, it's really threefold. One, that there was no other place in the world better than Atlanta to talk about civil rights, but that it needed to be an institution that did not just focus on civil rights, but looking at the history of Atlanta around civil and human rights leadership, that it needed to talk both about civil and human rights. And third and most important, because people ask us all the time, that it did not need to be a museum and just focus on the past, but it needed to be an institution that connected the history and the lessons learned of the past to the future, and hence is why we call it a center. It's so that it is ever current and vibrant, and that we continue to connect the lessons from the past with those movements and issues of the future. In 2006, we created a working group that really conceptualized even more what this institution needed to look like. We got a content council together. Fundraising began in 2007. In 2008, there was a generous donation of land by the Coca-Cola Company, which is now where the center will be housed at Pemberton Place, in between the New World of Coca-Cola and the Georgia Aquarium. And in 2008, we began our first phase of kind of programmatic events, launching what we call a Center Without Walls, with the beginnings of 10 days of events around the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And today we now have a nationally based board of directors, about 8 folks on staff now, and are beginning the process of looking at exhibitions and formulation of really what the center will look like, and of course are in the major thick of a capital campaign and the process of developing the center to then open its doors, hopefully around early summer, early fall of 2014. Next slide.
We have this.
Oh, yes. And if you're not familiar with a lot of the essence of the exhibitions of the center will be based on this document, which is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
And we have a copy for each of you.
The Pemberton Place location, as I said, really is the heartbeat of the tourism industry here in Atlanta. And with the generous donation of the Coca-Cola Company, it saved us both a significant amount of money, but there's really 2 pieces that are important about this. One, we've already seen that millions are coming to both the Georgia Aquarium and the World of Coke since they've opened. So there's 2 chains of thoughts about this. One is that meet people where they're already at, so that when they're coming to Atlanta and they spend a day at the Georgia Aquarium, a day at the World of Coke, they'll say, oh my gosh, there's this phenomenal institution that I did not even know existed. I think I'll spend another day in Atlanta so that I can learn more about civil and human rights. And oh my gosh, I've gone to this phenomenal institution that I didn't know existed, and it's telling me, you know, to go to the King Center to find out more about the legacy of Dr. King, to go to the Herndon Home to talk about the legacy of, you know, great business leaders here in the community. So really we see that the center will also, and we've put it as a part of our work, to connect so that people won't just stop at this institution, that will connect to other institutions that are similar in nature, both locally, regionally, and nationally. So that's why the Pemberton Place location is really so key and so wonderful. As well as we now know with the streetcar, that through that transportation mode, that it will allow people easy access. They can park right there at Pemberton Place and move through the historic district without having to do a lot of other movement. Very quickly with the project updates, again, our board has secured $65 million in public and private support in order that we will break ground on phase 1 in June of this year, and we'll raise an additional $5 million to expand the exhibition space, and we'll then continue with raising monies of about $30 million to $20 million for both an endowment and phase 2 and phase 3 of the facility. Our architectural team is the Freeline HOK team, and many folks may know Phil Freeline, who is also doing the African American Institute up with the Smithsonian. Next slide, please.
So, most importantly, the center is for everyone. It will become a destination for anyone who is wishing to learn about human rights. I think that's very important because that's what I didn't realize initially. The center embraces everyone. There is a place in the center for all of us. As Imari said, there will be hundreds of thousands of visitors annually. It's ideally located in a place where people are going to be there anyway. It will have a classroom curriculum. There will be original broadcasts. There will be training, conferences, and events for corporations to take advantage of, and there are unlimited program partnership opportunities. Next slide. The Center for Civil and Human Rights will attract 350,000 annual visitors, create $50 million in annual economic impact to the city of Atlanta, generate 600 jobs, and I think that's very, very important and very key, and represent LEED, a certified sustainable design. So they've put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the center is exactly what we want and need it to be at the time that it opens up.
And we're gonna skip this slide, and just to quickly say, we've started already, as I shared, since 2008, doing ongoing programming as a Center Without Walls, and this is just kind of a snapshot of some of the programming that we've done all throughout both the Atlanta community as well as nationally. So one of the things that we want to make sure that I pass out to everyone, which is an engagement card, because a lot of times people ask us, well, how do I find out more about the programs, or how do I find out about opportunities to connect and work with the center? Well, this is the best way, because once we have your information, you get on our e-newsletter, we send out email blasts both about programming and around opportunities to connect and to do business with the center. And then, if we can go to the next slide, which is hard to see on the white background, but the great news is for Leona and others who've been with us on this journey for quite some time is that we are officially breaking ground on June 27th of this year. And we are extremely excited about that. And then just in closing, we can, there we go. I didn't even know how quick the technology was. We can go to the next slide, Nicholas. And just to give you a snapshot, phase 1 will include the grand opening of a 35,000 square foot facility, and will include the King papers that are housed at Morehouse College, which you all know the story about that, and that is a pinnacle of the exhibitions that will be there. Human rights exhibition and a broadcast studio. And I want to talk about that just quickly because that's something that really no other facility in town has. So let's just say Leona has decided that she wants to do an ABL meeting, and she really wants to have this top corporate leader, but that corporate leader can't get out of China on that day. Well, in the center, you'll have the ability to have your meeting here and broadcast that individual live and be able to have interactive communication and conversation with that person without them physically being here, and them being able to also see what's going on there. So we're really trying to do things in a very cutting edge way, and that's in a way that is really of service to the Atlanta community. I think a lot of it we've talked about, so I'm going to just hold there with, in respect to the amount of time. But I do say that one of the things Leon and I have talked about is that there are a lot of opportunities. This is a very phased approach. So we're now in the thick of, I said, like a capital campaign. We have raised the money to begin phase one. So what you will begin to see, because I know there's many small and mid-sized business owners in the room, is opportunities to do business with the center. You'll begin to see opportunities to hear about more programmatic things that are going on in the center, and as Scarlett mentioned, opportunities to really delve into trainings around diversity, trainings around opportunities for all that we know are really important to the Atlanta community and nationally. And the last thing that I want to say, because growing up in Atlanta, I know that it's one thing that is very important, and it's one thing that we have continued and continue to stress in the center, that though this is a national institution, this is Atlanta's center. And so what we ask the Atlanta community is to embrace this center and to use this facility as your own. There is event space, there is broadcast facilities, there is tons of beautiful green space that will be there, a wonderful opportunity to connect with us online, especially for our young people. Wonderful opportunities to come and have generations to come to learn and see the writings of Dr. Martin Luther King. So really, we say that with a lot of pride, that when it came back and said there was no other place in the world that was better for this institution than Atlanta, we knew that this was going to be an institution that Atlanta would connect with, would embrace, and that would continue to use. So, Leona, thank you very much again for the opportunity. There is kind of a snapshot of information on the two-pager that I handed out. And again, if we ask if you just take time up to fill this out, and we'll make sure that we can continue to keep you engaged with everything that's going on, because once June 27th happens, it's going to be fast-paced. You think you've got great things going on now, you'll begin to see the next level of programmatic and business opportunities taking place at the National Center.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Anthony Joyner. I am a member of the ABL. I've been a member about a year. I'm here to share my testimony as being a member. Well, first of all, before I start, I want to introduce my businesses that I'm a founder of. I'm a technology entrepreneur, and I own a business called Shoesed. Now, that's a play on the words used and shoes. For you ladies out there who have a lot of shoes, we're building an online marketplace so that you can take pictures of your shoes, upload them online, share them with your Facebook friends and your Twitter friends so that you can resell your shoes sometimes instead of taking them to Salvation Army. And you can also donate part of that sale to charity. I'm also a founder of the Weekend Collection, where we offer weekend getaways that are within 6 hours of Atlanta. The getaways range from $175 to about $250 to $300. So I wanted to share 3 real quick reasons the Atlanta Business League has been really huge. Reason number 1 is the ability to share knowledge. A lot of times as an entrepreneur, you get kind of in the weeds with your business and you get your head down and you're doing things, but sometimes you just need to step back and maybe share your information with other people. Well, the Atlanta Business League provides a venue with a lot of smart people that can look at your business from a perspective and offer you an unbiased opinion and say, hey, maybe you should think about this. That's one of the key things that the Business League has offered. Number 2 is the opportunities. I was at Super Tuesday, I think it was last year, and one of the young ladies in there, she wanted to get into the film industry, and this was an ABL meeting. Roger Bob was being moderated in that meeting, and he offered that lady on the spot an opportunity to come work for Tyler Perry Studios. So you get opportunities like that with the Atlanta Business League. The third thing that we've really gained as our businesses from the Business League is different connections. In my very first meeting, I got a chance to meet with Mr. William Pate. He's the president and CEO of the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau. So not only did Mr. Pate give me his card, but he invited me up to his office, and he made personal introductions to a lot of the hospitality professionals, not only in Atlanta, but in other cities. So 3 things that you really gain as a new member and as an entrepreneur are shared knowledge, opportunities, and connections. So I just wanted to say, if there's anybody out there, if you're not a member or if you're on the fence or if you're a new member, there are a lot of huge opportunities, and I think you should go ahead and sign up now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and thanks to everyone for coming out this evening. And in just a short while, I think it's been about maybe 30, 40 minutes, you've heard about how to give back to black businesses and African-American businesses. You've heard about what to do with your money and how you can get some financial counseling on that. You've also heard about one of the, what I believe is going to be the premier visitation spots here in Atlanta. And also you've heard about what to do with your old shoes. So can you imagine getting all that information and the diversity of information in under 30 minutes? So now, here's what some of you really came from. You didn't know you were getting all the rest of that. I have the pleasure and the distinct pleasure of introducing the Honorable Theodore Jackson. And I'm sorry, I forgot. My name is Tiffany Farrell. I am a new ABL board member, and I work for Atlanta Gas Light Company. I'm the Director of Operations. But today I'm here to talk about the Honorable Theodore Jackson, who is the Sheriff of Fulton County, Georgia. Now, one of the things, as I spoke to him very briefly, he's like, can you make it short? So the good thing is I will try to make it short. One of the things that's hard is when you have someone who has so much of a background and who has so much experience and knowledge, you want to tell people about that so when he's speaking, you know that you're hearing from authority on the subject matter. So I'll briefly talk about the fact that he is an accomplished senior executive with an extensive experience as a field operations manager and possesses a broad range of knowledge and experience in national program areas such as policy, budget, and management. So although he's the sheriff, he has a lot of background in those other areas. Since 1971, he's held various assignments ranging from supervisory special agent to when he was appointed at the FBI special agent in charge of the Atlanta office in 1999. And through that time, he's done things such as overseeing Homeland Security protocols, establishing the FBI office in the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. And then after doing all of that for a 30-year career, he retired from the FBI in 2003 and was then shortly appointed as interim sheriff of Fulton County. And he remained there until December of 2004. And then again, all of his experience, and obviously he did a great job as interim sheriff, because in November of 2008, he was elected by the voters to the office of Sheriff Fulton County, Georgia. And as he's done this, he's really focused on several major areas. And those include making sure that he's complying with federal consent decrees. And one of the major things which I really saw in this, and then after doing some research on the website, is that he really focused on making sure that his staff and all of his employees are conduct themselves with a high level of integrity and making sure they represent themselves very professionally. He has also continued to earn public trust and develop new law enforcement agency directives as directed by the court system. And lastly, but not least, he provides and seeks to provide educational services like we're doing tonight for the community, talking about preventing crimes, but tonight he's going to talk about how you can help grow your business. He is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, and has earned many degrees, including a Bachelor of Science in Physics. That's not easy, from Morgan State University, and a certificate in public administration from University of South California. He's also a graduate of the Federal Executive Institute, Charlottesville, Virginia, and Harvard University's JFK School of Government. This Vietnam Army veteran continues to lead outside his normal day-to-day duties by participating in groups such as Metropole, which is the Georgia Chief of Police Association, and the Georgia chapter of NOBLE, which is the National Organization of Law Enforcement Executives, and the FBI Alumni Association. Mr. Jackson has been married to the former Renee Mayo for a wonderful 38 years, and the two have two adult daughters. So please join me in welcoming the Honorable Theodore Jackson.
Thank you, Tiffany. You call that cutting it short? I'm really honored to be here, and since everybody else has called you Leona, I'm going to do the same thing, Madam President. What I hope to do is something different. Normally, I talk about the Sheriff's Office, but tonight I'm going to mix it with business opportunities, and then I was told after 2 hours I can take some questions. Good evening, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here. What I thought I would do is give you an outline of what the Sheriff's Office is, so that if you have issues with the Sheriff's Office, you'll know who to call, because we've streamlined it and made it really more effective than it has been. And we've simplified the structure, and what I'll do is I'll talk about each area, each division. I'll talk about job opportunities in there, and also have with me Colonel Jimmy Butts, who handles the administrative division. He was responsible for all the money, the contracts, and we'll talk about how you can do business. A lot of it will be the Sheriff's Office, but most of it will be how you can maneuver through Fulton County. I'm sure you'd be interested in that, and since I'm on film, I'll hold back a little bit, but you'll be able to read between the lines. Because those of you that have tried to do business with Fulton County, it could be a little frustrating. First of all, I'll talk about the Sheriff's Office. There's a lot of confusion between the Sheriff and the Police Chief. The Sheriff's mission is to maintain the jail, provide security in the courthouse, uphold the laws of the state of Georgia and the U.S. government, and do prevention and education. Basically, that's what it is. Police departments protect you, they're public safety, so our involvement is a lot different, a lot more involved. And what we've done in the Sheriff's Office is broken it down into 4 divisions to make it very simple. So if you have to call in, you know exactly who to ask for and where to go. The first division I'll talk about is Administrative Division. That's where all the money goes through. That's where Colonel Butts handles a $97 million budget, and we'll talk about contracts and business opportunities. We also handle the training, purchasing, anything that's administrative that deals with money and people. The most critical area of the Sheriff's Office is the jail. Out of the $97 million budget, $68 million is surrounded with the jail. And when I say $97 million, 78%, which makes up $76 million, is just for people. Salaries, benefits, it eats up most of the budget. So when you hear the Sheriff's Office budget is too large, and it's the largest budget in the county, it's based on people. And we can't do what we need to do without people. And so 19% goes toward contracts. Major contracts include food, especially at the jail. And the one thing I like to say about the jail, it's the largest free hotel in the county, free one-way limo service. But and it's going to be friendlier than you think when I talk about the jail. But the jail itself, we've reduced the population from a high of 3,200 inmates. We're down now total in the whole system below 2,400. This occurred in November. We first noticed that because of the efforts of the justice partners, and the justice partners is the courts, the public defender, the DA, Sheriff's Office, and those that deal within the justice area, which takes up 33% of the county budget. We started working together to make sure only the inmates that belong in jail are in jail. The others that don't belong, we've come up with ways to move them through. We process in 4,000 a month, we process out 4,000 a month. You know, and that way the population stays low. And you heard Tiffany talk about a federal consent decree. We're in 95% with the federal consent decree. If you've been paying attention to the news, the judge is after the Board of Commissioners. The Sheriff's Office has not been mentioned once. The judge is pleased with what we're doing within the consent decree. Just a little background on the consent decree. In 2006, the jail was overpopulated. Inmates were sleeping on the floor. It was filthy. When I first became sheriff, I walked into the jail. The combination of fried food and body odor stayed in my clothes. And so in the food contract, we asked for heart healthy. Everything is baked and steamed, no fried. So you take the fried smell out, we keep it clean, and now it smells more like a hospital. And that's probably part of what it is. But the food contract is about close to $4 million. It'll be coming up for a bid this year. And if you need information, Colonel Butts can tell you how to go through the process, and I'll help you if you're interested and you have a business that can furnish up to 7,000 meals a day. Is that right? 7,000? 7,000 meals a day. 2 of them have to be warm because of the consent decree. And the inmates, of course, always complain about the food. It costs $72 a day to house them, and they have a nerve to complain about the food. But anyway, when we switched over from fried chicken, fried fish, fried everything, fried this, fried that, got all the grease out, we came back with steamed and baked. No salt, no sugar, and it's heart healthy. And the inmates complained, the colonel said, "Can we have fried chicken once a month?" I said, "Nope, no more grease." So they started complaining because we had health issues, and the medical contract that we have is $14 million. We have physical and mental, and so that should be coming up next year. So, and we'll tell you how to get involved if you're interested in those kind of contracts. But the inmates complained, they didn't like the food, and my response was, "How much do you pay for it?" And the second response, "If you don't like it, don't come back." I mean, we can say that. That's okay. That's not cruel. And now they're getting used to it. And it was another issue involved because of our medical expenses, because of the inmates having high blood pressure, sugar, diabetes, cholesterol problems, heart issues. We were feeding them the wrong food. So the medical costs were going up. The size of the inmates, they come in thin and, leave a little heavy. Now they come in, they stay thin, the blood pressure's down, they complain that they don't get salt, and all these things work out, and it allows us, and it did allow us to reduce our medical contract from $16 million to $14 million. And then in the interest of the economy and you as taxpayers, we have to find ways to save you money. And that's what we do. We find ways to save money. We have a total of about 1,100 employees, and we're always looking for employees. So if you know those that are interested in a career in law enforcement, we have detention officers and deputy sheriffs in civilian positions. And you can go online or have them go online and apply for positions because we have a high turnover. And the turnover is because we have people working in the jail. Our jail now is, while it's down to 2,400, it's the lowest amount in 15 years. 1/3 of 17 to 24, the most violent offenders. 92% are violent offenders. And when I say violent offenders, in for charges, murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, 92% are on the way to prison upon conviction. So we've got a hardcore group, and we have gang activity. And so our employees, some of them are scared. I just might as well say it. They get in there, they think working in a jail, you shouldn't have prison-type inmates. And we now been told by the National Institute of Corrections, Department of Justice, ARM, they've come in 3 times, they just left last week. They say now we have a Fulton County prison. I used to say that, but who's going to believe me? So now we got experts, and so it takes its toll on our employees, and we do have turnovers, but we have really great employees. The next area we're concerned about is courts. In courts, March 11, 2005 was the worst tragedy probably in the history of the court system, and you're aware of that. And we were lacking in security. And so the Board of Commissioners last year approved $5 million for us to upgrade the security, and we're in the process of upgrading the security. If you'd invited me last year, I could have said the contract would be up for bid and you'd have an opportunity, but it happened last year. We have a company in, and things can happen, and we can, put it back on the street, but right now, we're expecting by August to have a state-of-the-art command center with cameras, with the whole thing. $5 million contract is going to be upgraded to the point where we'll be able to protect you a lot better than what we do now because our system is outdated. And I'll go back to the jail. We actually upgraded the security system in the jail as well. And in the jail, most of your bids will have to go through the county, and I'll explain how we operate. In the sheriff's office, we set up a contract review committee. And the reason I did that, wherever I went, I heard business folks and vendors say, I don't bid in Fulton County because it's already set, and we know we can't get in. And we had a food contract that's been around forever, a medical been around for 23 years. And when I asked you and I asked them, give us a chance. because we set up a system. In this system, we call it Contract Review Committee. The county has their contract committee. We decided in the sheriff's office, we're going to do the same thing, because we want to make sure if you make a bid or you do business, that if you got the best quality product, you're going to get it. And I'll stand behind it. And we fought and fought and fought, and we're getting through. It's not going to be easy, and you got to stay with us, but eventually, right's going to win out. And so what we decided, well, we would have an internal review committee, and we would compare our findings with the Board of Commissioners review committee findings, and it's unbelievable. We're coming up with the same quality vendors now, but that means that we've had a new mental health vendor come in. We've had a new food contract come in, and I think the plane is even. So if you're ever concerned about dealing with the sheriff's office and concerned about making a bid, don't be concerned. Now, the problem is when we went out and we requested people to give us a chance, we had about 46 bids for food, and we had almost as many for medical and mental. And then we have to work our way down, but it's fair. And there are some people that didn't like the way we do things, and they appeal and they fight us, and in the end, right wins out. So what I'm telling you here is that when you bid through the sheriff's office and you've got a quality bid, we're going to stay with you and fight with you, and the politics is not going to influence us. The next area I'll talk about is in law enforcement. Of course, in law enforcement, we have uniforms, we have weapons, guns, pistols, rifles, ammunition, and we need ammunition every year because we've improved the safety of our employees by making sure they all have vests. We replaced every weapon in 2009. We had deputies walking around. As a matter of fact, I hate to say this on camera, when I became sheriff, they gave me a pistol that was 10 years old. And so, you know, after I realized that, wait a minute, I'm not on the street every day and I got a pistol this bad. So we replaced all the pistols. We stay on top of safety issues because in the law enforcement arena, I mentioned that 1/3 of our inmates are 17 to 24. They're getting even younger. And they don't care about you or anybody else. And so we have to be one step ahead of them. And you need to be aware, too, that when you're out there, if a youth comes up and wants your car, give the keys up because they don't care. We have some in our jail, 20 years old, in for triple murder. And so these gangs and these other folks, it's getting a little tougher, the respect they have for the elders. But what we do in the law enforcement division, every other month, all the chiefs, the heads of state and federal agencies get together and talk about issues in the county. Something's working because our jail population is down 22%. And we notice Gwinnett's going up, so I'm not going to try to say anything, but and the chief Saturday night at a banquet announced that crime in the city of Atlanta, violent crime is down 40%, murder rates are down, but around us, things are getting a little tougher. And so by us working together, it keeps you safe. It keeps your businesses safe. One of the initiatives we've worked with through the DA's office is a burglary task force. It started off as a county-wide initiative. And then we found that the burglars, some of them worked 11 to 7 shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. It was like a job. And then we realized that we need to make a greater effort. And some of you might have been victims of burglaries. So we made a greater effort to work together, the whole county. You have representatives from all the police departments in the county, from the sheriff's office. And what we found was that the burglars were going to Douglas, Clayton, Cobb, Gwinnett, and so now it's a regional burglary task force. And you'll see we're making progress, but then the other issue is the youth. You have a lot of young people that are not going to school during the day. They're burglarizing certain neighborhoods. And we also are working on that through the schools with the truancy program. Part of our law enforcement division, we work together with everyone and with the school system. Occasionally, they've got a new chief in Fulton County schools, but we go out and we do roundups. We know where the youngsters, we know where they hang out. And we'll go out and round them up and take them in, and they're looking at making the laws stronger. We have to get them off the street because those are the ones committing most of the crimes. The last area I'll talk about is the community outreach. And this might impact on some of you. And if you have some organizations that can help us, we would appreciate that. We've noticed that gang members are becoming as young as 10, 11 years old. Last April, we had a mother call the sheriff's office and said, my 11-year-old daughter is out of control, and she's no bigger than this. I mean, bigger, no heavier than a pencil. And I'm going to drop her off, and y'all need to do something with her. And, you know, we thought it was a joke. And the lieutenant calls me over. He says, I got this 11-year-old girl, and mother dropped her off and left. What are we going to do? And I talked with her. She didn't really seem bad. So we took her to the courts, and we let a judge talk with her, and then we took her to the jail and let some of the inmates talk with her. And we thought that was the end. And then we got calls from other parents, 10-year-olds. And so we did the same thing, and then we called timeout. The third Tuesday of every month, we'll take up to 10 to 18-year-olds, have their parents bring them in, and if y'all want to take part of this program, you know, call us, because we have to do something to change the mentality and the behavior of our young people. And this program, as I talk about it, is proven to work. Over the last year, we've taken 250 through the program. And what we do is 8:30 in the morning, and we've had parents come as far away as Augusta, Macon. We had a call from Jacksonville, Florida. We don't advertise because we'll get overwhelmed. You know, if we advertise, now I'm advertising tonight, but I don't think we'll get overwhelmed from this group. But we don't want to get overwhelmed because you lose the impact of it. So at 8:30 in the morning, I meet with the 10 to 18-year-olds and a parent or guardian. We talk about the program, what we hope to achieve, and then we have the parent or guardian call the child out in front of all the others. Tell us why your child's here. And it's like the parents have been waiting for an opportunity like this. They can beat up on the kids and nothing will happen. They can badmouth them. Sometimes I feel sorry for the kids because they're going at them. And we get things like, I brought her here because she smokes marijuana. I brought him here because he beats me. A little 10-year-old, a bully, steal. I mean, just anything you can imagine. These little kids are doing it. And the odd thing about it is most of them are smart. They'll say, you know, they make A's and B's, but the behavior is bad, and it's a clue to us is that they're trying to fit in. You know, when you're smart smart in school, people pick on you because you're smart. So in order for you to stop getting picked on, you got to be bad so you can fit in. Don't make sense, but that's what happens. So our job is to change behavior and turn them around and hope that they'll go back to school and turn the other ones around. So then after we get that done, we'll take them over to court, and a district attorney and a judge will explain the system to them. Now the real bad ones, they're not scared yet. But some of them, the ones that are not quite bad but almost, they're already scared before we start the program. After that, we take them to the jail. We take the boys up on the 7th floor, maximum security, the worst inmates we got. Young ladies, we take them down to where the women are. And we got some bad women in Fulton County Jail. And so they interact. And I'm not supposed to say this, and I'm on camera, but A&E has picked up on it. And so you're gonna get to see this first episode in August. And so if you need our help with that, let us know. But at the end of the day, for example, a bully, she goes in, she's this tall, inmate's this tall, inmate gets all up in her and says, so you're a bully, I'm gonna make you fold my underwear. And I'm thinking, bully ain't gonna do that, she's gonna stand up. She goes and folds it. And he said, now I'm going to make you come and clean my toilet out. And you're going to see this on tape, so it really happened. And she asked for gloves. She said, ain't no gloves in here. You get down in there and do it. And I'm shocked, like, these are supposed to be some bad kids, and they're letting the inmates do them. We only had one problem out of one bully. He's up in maximum security, and they tell him to do push-ups. And he says he's not going to do any. So they ask him again, do the push-ups. I ain't doing nothing. So you know you got a problem now, because you got a guy that's a bully that's got 3 big deputies telling him to do push-ups, and he ain't going to do nothing. So, you know, they do what they do. And he does the push-ups. But at the end of the day, when they come back to the office. We have them write an essay. You know, what have you learned and how are you going to change your behavior? And every last one of them will say, I don't want to go to jail. So that's the point. And they read this to their parent. And some of them will hug and not let go. And then we do follow-up. And so as we expand in this, we obviously going to need, we're looking for counselors, because some of the kids, one 10-year-old told me, he said, sir, and when he said sir, I said, this kid can't be bad. He's showing a little bit of respect. He said, sir, I'm not bad. It's my stepmom. And that made us think, because we don't think that way. We think that a youngster is bad just because they're bad. We don't think maybe it's the surroundings at home. And it's funny, these parents that are engaged in bad behavior will bring their child in for us to work with them when they're the problem. And so we've got counselors now talking with the parents. And so now we pay more attention to the parents as much as we pay for the youngster that's in the program. So when I see a mother come in all tattooed it up and is having a problem with a child that's 13 years old with no tattoos, I said, well, maybe we need to look at the mom a little bit. And then when I hear the mom talk about the child and the way the demeanor is coming across, then we look at that. That's just one program we deal with the youth. Another one is called Helping Youth Prosper and Evolve. And every October, we'll do it again this year for the 3rd time, we get up to 500 6th to 12th graders, and we do a one-day workshop with them. We have people from the Centers for Disease Control to talk to them about those issues. We have a DEA agent that talks about drugs. We have someone else talk about gangs. We have somebody talk about life skills, jobs, how to prepare for a job. And then we have a judge talk to them about the system. 6 workshops. We break them down half hour each. And then we have some entertainment during the middle of the day. And it's strange because you get the feel that these youngsters really want to do right, but something is causing them not to. And the parents come to pick them up at 4. And if they're not ready to go, they'll tell their parents, I'm not ready to go. It's usually the opposite. And the parents are sitting there fuming because they want to leave, but they can't leave because we have deputies with guns on and won't let them leave. Because it's the one opportunity during the year that we can have an impact on them. And we also work with the seniors. Seniors are very trustworthy. And I tell them, I said, watch your own relatives. Identity theft is a real major problem. And I remember always saying, watch your grandchildren because those are the worst ones. I never had an idea when I was saying that we would really run into a situation. And you might be aware of Vida Hall. She was 103 years old. And a grandson, house paid for. They've been in the house 51 years. Went out, took advantage of her, and then wouldn't pay the bank. And then we were sent out to evict. And at least now we have a culture within our sheriff's office that we have compassion. And we're sensitive when we can be. Not all the time, but when we can be. And when the deputies got there and saw her in the bed with a wheelchair, we called it off. And now when I talk to the seniors, I can say, watch your grandkids. He was 69 years old. Who would ever think a 69-year-old grandchild would do it? We were talking like 20, 25, the young gangsters, and they do. They're out there. So if any of you are grandparents or have somebody in your family, just understand that they can steal your identity and you don't even know it. And then someday you wake up, you got credit problems and whatever. I know it doesn't happen in this group, but you might know somebody where it does happen. So you can see overall, in the sheriff's office, we have a lot of different missions. And in our law enforcement, to protect you, we understand we don't have enough people. We'll never have the funding to hire the people that we need. So we have to find ways to supplement what we do. And so we're on a number of task forces. Since 9/11, global crime has changed, terrorism become a large issue. Having the largest county, you have to make sure that we do all we can to protect you. And so we have a deputy that's on the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. So any terrorist threat in the county, we'll know about it and be able to address it. Drugs is always an issue, and so we have a deputy on the DEA's High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Agency, HIDR, to deal with the drugs. Some of these things have worked so well, especially with drugs. We got information on one occasion that we had driven the druggies to Alabama. Now, that's some driving when you can force a group to go to Alabama. Now, you know they're not going to stay there, but you got to be ready. And so we've driven them out into other areas. And while we have drug issues in the county, they're not as significant as Clayton and Gwinnett and some of the other counties because we stay on top of everything by working together. We also have a task force with the U.S. Marshals for the most dangerous people that we need to get off the street. It's called the Southeast Regional Fugitive Task Force. We have 4 deputies on that. Anyone that's so dangerous that we need to get them off the street, we can work through the U.S. Marshals and make sure that we protect you. And I think basically with all the law enforcement working together, I think we made a difference. And one of the things I mentioned earlier is about procurement. In our county, the sheriff's office, we can only, anything over $2,500 has to be a bid. And we can do small bids in the sheriff's office. We can do commissary, and we can do inmate telephones. Everything else has got to go through the county. And if you want to know what's up for 2012, go to www.fultoncountyga.gov and look for purchasing and contract compliance. And you'll be able to get whatever's going on, not only in the sheriff's office, but whatever's going on in the county. And Colonel Butts will be around afterwards if you need some help on how to go about that. But whatever your business is, you can do business in the county. Sheriff's office is limited because, you know, we're law enforcement. But with $19 million in contracts, obviously we can do business with you. If you have questions, you can call the colonel, or you can call me and I'll refer you to the colonel. I've been told that I can take some questions. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Yes. Yes, yeah, you.
I'm Alice White, Blessed Corner, Blessed Explorers. And as you were speaking, I was thinking in terms of those of us, especially in retail, we have the first opportunity to train individuals transitioning from jail back
Yes.
into society.
Yes.
Could you address what you do when you have individuals who are not convicted, to clean their record, to purge their records, and to help them become a citizen again and have a right to vote? Or if they don't know they have a right, to help them to become citizens, voting citizens.
Okay.
But to purge their record is the main question I want.
Okay, that's an easy one. That's District Attorney Paul Howard. He's the one that processes that. But you bring up another issue. In our jail, we also have programs. So I don't know, you know, if you have a business that is involved in psychology, education, or trades, we know that in the jail, if people are released, recidivism rate is very high. If you have no education, and the one thing the inmates tell us, because we have a relationship with the inmates, you know, we keep them until the trial and they go off to prison, or we keep them for a short period of time. And they all say about the 3rd or 4th grade, they were lost. And I know the governor is saying he's going to put money into the 3rd grade to make sure when you finish the 3rd grade, you can read on the 3rd grade level. But that's where we lose most of them. And some of them can stick around to the 9th grade and get old enough to drop out at 16. So we decided in 2009 to do a test on the inmates, volunteers, for a GED. So if they could get a GED, we had a partnership with Atlanta Metro. If they got a GED, they could go there and develop a skill. So we tested 995 inmates, and we found that 65% read on a 3rd to 8th grade level. So they couldn't even qualify for a GED. So we set up a pre-literacy program, and we tried 3 40-year-olds that couldn't read or write. And at the end of their training, they read a Langston Hughes poem and actually wrote a letter, and we invite their families in to see them because we believe in rehabilitation, because that's what jails are for. I mean, you got to pay your dues, but you're supposed to be rehabilitated and not come out worse than when you went in. And so we're actually doing that, and now we see the state is talking the same game. And what we're trying to tell the state, for the last 3 years in Fulton County, we've had drug courts, mental health courts, accountability courts. We've had programs. So if the state's going to get into this, don't muddle around and try to come up with something and take 10 years to do it. You know, look at Fulton County. We've already started, and maybe they can take what we got, run it through, and make a bigger difference. And that will help us, because every prisoner that they train or get out of the system is one less coming back to Fulton County. Because when they get out, they all come back to the same zip code. They get $25 and a bus ride. Now, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to come back and commit a crime. So we've developed, after the GED program, we continue, we can find at least 20, 25 inmates that we can test and get the GED. We're trying to come up with another remedial or something we can do. We can't find an agency that does that or organization. But inside the jail, we have a culinary program, 12-week program. We've run about 5 classes through. We try to get at least 20 or more, because some of them get released right in the middle. You know, 12 weeks is a long time to try to train somebody in the jail. But at the end of the training, they not only they get a certificate, but you as a taxpayer, that's less people working in the kitchen. So if we have 15 or 20 in the culinary program, that's 15 or 20 working in the kitchen. We have to pay less people, and the contract is less because the inmates are helping. When they finish, they get a certificate, and we try to get them a job in a hotel, restaurant, or someplace where we can place them. We also have a floor tech program through Goodwill. Floor tech, some of us that used to do that, we call it buffing the floor back in the day, but now they got a real title with the, you know, get a certificate, floor tech. And you watch these guys, and it's like all of a sudden, you know, hey, I got something to do. I watched a guy, probably just a stage here. He took 1 hour to buff it. Well, of course, he had nothing else to do, but when he was done, it was like glass. And I was afraid to even walk on it. And if you ever came into the jail, and if you're interested, we can work it out through Leona. You can come and see what your taxes are going for. You'll be amazed at how clean the jail is. And it's the inmates doing it. And then when they finish, they get a certificate, and Goodwill gives them a job. They're guaranteed a job. So they shouldn't come back. And when I talk with them, I always say, hey, you're doing really great. You got a certificate. You can get out a job. You think you're coming back? Nope, don't want to come back. And I said, well, if you come back, you can come back and help us. And that's what you want them to do. You want them to say, I don't want to come back. You don't want them to say, hey, man, I've been out for 2 weeks. I'm right back, because that happens. And so you got to do something about it. And we're always looking at other programs. Sorry. That wasn't really a question. I just went on.
Hi.
Did you have? Okay.
And the majority of them will be going on to college. We had 30 last year. Each year we're increasing, and we work with the very population that you're talking about.
Okay.
One of the problems that we run into, and perhaps you can help me, in dealing with Fulton County Juvenile Court and the Department of Juvenile Justice, is that when their kids aren't showing up, they don't make them show up. And they're saying that there's this 12-point program or whatever in terms of offenses as to whether they can sanction them or send them back to Metro. I need to know what you all can do, because my home has been broken into 4 times within a 2-year period in Fulton County, and I am still suffering you know, those young people aren't out there on the street just kind of wreaking havoc. So is there some relationship between
Well, give the colonel your card and we'll call you.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, I appreciate it. Just remember, we're here to serve, and so if you ever have a need for the sheriff's office.
I had a question.
Okay, that's all right.
I have all my life. When you get into jail or prison, like you said, you're talking about earlier about food. You get better. You used to eat fried food, now you get better health with food. And you have exercise programs, and they have weights.
Yeah, we don't do that, no.
And you know, you go in, maybe you did something, the police chase you down, they picks you up, you put you in your car, and took you down. And you go in jail or you go in prison, you're working out, you're eating better, and you come out, and now you're a little tougher to catch down now. You're a little stronger than when you were last time. Why do they do that?
Well, we don't do all that. The prison system, they might have weights and all that. We just give them time to shoot a basketball or play checkers or chess. We don't want them to get built up and strong because then they'll attack us. but just think of this though: if you're in a jail and you're locked up in your cell, a little tiny cell about the size of a closet, you're in there for 23 hours a day because of your behavior and because you're just mean. And we can't have you out mingling. We can't have our employees, jeopardized by you. Well, of course, when you come out, but those guys don't come back out. They go to prison. And the prison system deals with them. And then if they have no skills when they come out, they're going to be just as bad. Because, I mean, the governor offered them opportunities to go down and pick, fruit or whatever, and they lasted 1 hour. I mean, there's no opportunities for them, and we have to change the way we do business. We got to get them educated, like she said, and get them jobs. And we're working with foundations that will work with the inmates when they're released, but they come in before, and it's about life skills. You have to talk with them. What we do in the programs is we isolate them and let them have time to think about their lives and life skills and how they want to change, because that's the only way you're going to really rehabilitate them. You can't just give them something, okay, we're going to prepare you for a job and put them out, because they're still, inclined to commit crime. So you got to change life, and it's called life skills. We work with them to get them to understand, and we have hardcore criminals, former drug addicts, actually come back and work with us as counselors. They've been through it. They have rapport with these people. And so when they talk to them about their mistakes and they start talking, when they get out, they're better off. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And I think we're making it that way. We have no way of measuring it because it's so new. But I hope that this is where the state's going, because locking people up and just, putting them away forever is costing you millions and millions of dollars, and that's not the solution because it doesn't solve anything. Now, some belong, and I didn't get into the mental health problems that we have in a jail, but we have a program in a jail where we've partnered with Emory and the state, and we have a cell block just for the mentally disturbed. 40% of our inmates have mental issues. Some belong in mental institutes, but they forced the jails to be mental hospitals. So we were just housing them in 4 or 5 years, no treatment at all. So we've reached out to the state and Emory, and they have counselors, psychologists that come in, medicate, do the counseling, and get them out, either through a trial or get them out to a facility. So we in the sheriff's office, we always try different things. We're innovative in what we do. We don't accept things the way they are because we know we can try, and we're fortunate because everything we try so far is working. And so we continue to try to be innovative. Okay. You got one, let me have one more.
One last question.
Yeah, yes.
I really enjoyed your discussion. One thing that I'm kind of curious about, my name is Roy Grackley, and I'm from Georgia, but I do most of my work here. I My mom sent me to University of South Mississippi when I was in high school back in age 4, and it was a computer camp. And one thing that I noticed with that computer camp I went to, the kids were like the most elite part of the class. I was kind of an average student, you know, when I was younger. I was identified as having high IQ, but in my family, I ran into a lot of problems, similar to no one really knew how to guide me. The reason why I bring that up is because a lot of the kids that you spoke about and said that they're pretty smart. What type of partnerships have you thought about from a technology standpoint? These very same kids you put them in front of the Xbox, then they can go for it. I mean, they know all the combinations. You put them in front of Facebook, they know how to navigate Facebook. They know how to navigate all these things. And we're going into an era for 2013, 2014, 2015, where technology is going to rule. And businesses are going to be doing more things in cyberspace more than they are actually going to be doing it in real world. So have you considered various options? You know, I mean, coming from Washington, D.C., where I've done a lot of government contracts, you know, there's a lot of high-tech opportunities or programs that are out there. Have you considered possibly some partnerships with Georgia Tech or some other institutions to help those same students that might not be the elite of the class?
So you're talking about the students in the youth intervention program?
Exactly.
Well, you know, I hate to say that we can't do that. I mean, what we're trying to do is change behavior, and we just spend one day. We don't have the resources. Yeah, that'd be great if we had the resources, and what we continually do is try to make partnerships with people that can do that. We'll refer them, but for the sheriff's office, I mean, we're limited. I mean, we don't have enough resources to do what we're doing, but we are trying to make that effort. And I agree with you, but if you know anybody that we can contact, we'll form a partnership with them, because that's what's needed. And what we're trying to do with the organizations is, once we're done with that one day, is to have organizations that'll follow up with them and with their parents. And you got to remember, we're not a business. We're a little old broke government agency.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leona Barr Davenport, president of the Atlanta Business League, and I would like to, you can go on through, make a presentation to Sheriff Jackson on behalf of the Atlanta Business League for taking the time out of his schedule to come and be with us this evening. One of the things that we find is that sometimes when a subject is not considered sexy, and it's not, we don't see ourselves in it, then people tend not to come out to hear the truth. And I think the key to our growth and moving to the next level here in the city is to understand what we have in our sheriff and what we have in the city. You know, I applaud him for the work that they're doing as it relates to the programs that they're bringing in. That's significant. I didn't know about it, and I don't know if any of you knew about it prior to coming here this evening. It's important. And the other part that I think is important is that he's asked for help. So if there are organizations that you are engaged in that you know can provide some type of service, the organizations that are looking for community outreach programs, then this is a great one. So we celebrate that, and we thank him for coming after his 30-year career in the service, and now he's embarking, how many years is this? His 4th year, and he is seeking re-election. So I will say that he couldn't talk about that, but he is seeking re-election, and it sounds like we have some substantive things that are occurring in the system that we can be proud of. So on behalf of our board of directors and Tiffany Farrell, you have another part of you, Callaway Farrell, who presented you this evening, this is a token of our appreciation. So I'd like to present this.
Too small, whatever you do. Thanks.
Thank you. Will give me 5 minutes, and we will allow you to have the rest of your evening. Let me just thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. This information, as I said, is vital to our knowing what's happening in our environment, and it's important. The last time I was in jail was back in 2002 when Leadership Atlanta took us there for a site visit. And, but Sheriff Jackson was not there, so I do want to go back to see the environment that he described this evening. So I think that's something that we will set up. We'll give you a call, and we will let the membership know when we're taking that site visit so that you'll have a chance to see it. Two things that I was amazed about when I went to the jail. Number one, there's a pharmacy in there that is as big, if not larger, than any pharmacy that you can see on the street. So that is definitely a substantive contract. The other part that I thought that just blew my mind, and it took me a long time to get it out of my vision, was watching all of our people behind the bars. Teenagers on up to older men, which was just, it was incredible and a sad sight to see. But it's real, and I don't think we can live in a vacuum and not allow ourselves to look at it, because I think it helps us as we come back out into our own sheltered worlds to make a difference and help make a difference. We have, I want to bring to your attention, if you have the agendas, the upcoming dates for the Atlanta Business League. On June 5th, Cynthia Jones Parks, who's our Vice Chair for Education, shared with you that we will be hosting our Business Enrichment Seminar at Atlanta Technical College, and that will be focused on financing your business, so please look to get more information on that. On June 19th, our Business Power Forum back here at Atlanta Life. Mr. Felker Ward, who is the chairman of the Fort McPherson Development Authority, will come back. It's been a couple of years since he was here to share with us the opportunities that were coming forth as it relates to the redevelopment of Fort McPherson. He's coming to let us know updates, because there are some serious updates and some developments that are about to take place. They are met within this last 2 weeks with the Department of the Army so that they could talk about some of the opportunities that are coming up. You're welcome to attend their meetings, which I think they have it every month, and you can get it online, but he is going to bring some critical information to us next month, and that is on June the 19th. On July the 10th, we will be at Turner Field, where we will host our annual membership campaign reception, and the added part of that this year is our Member Expo. We will have members of the Atlanta Business League who will be exhibiting their businesses. You'll have an opportunity to speak with them directly about the products and services that they're providing, and likewise, you'll be able to talk about your products and services. We are asking suppliers and diversities from around metropolitan Atlanta and surrounding cities to come so that they can visit those exhibitors. And that's key, because then they're walking and talking, and they'll be free to walk around the area to find out what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what you provide. So please mark your calendar for these dates.
Is it at 5 a.m.?
Which? Oh, no, it's p.m. I won't be there. It is p.m., so that's an oversight. Thank you. And before we pull for our door prizes, I do want to thank all of our program participants this evening for sharing and being a part of this evening's presentation. And I'd like for all of you to come back and join us on the stage. We're going to have a group photo, and we want the participants this evening to have an opportunity to come up and talk to you and ask questions. So everyone who was on the agenda this evening to come back to, and you can come now, because when I pull the door prizes, we will actually be closing out. And Mr. Butts, would you please come on up also? Mr. Butts, as Sheriff Jackson said, is responsible for procurement at the jail. So I think if he's going to be the one that you need to talk to, then say hello to him this evening. And I do want to recognize other members of the Board of Directors, Mr. Lonnie Sabor, Ms. Scarlett Presley Brown, who's also on the program this evening, Alice White Bussey, our longtime member and first female president of the Atlanta Business League. Am I missing any of the other board members that are here? A few of them were Laren Walker, our, Tommy refers to him as our technology guru. You said that's right. Yeah, he is very good. And he's also our vice chair for technology. So we thank him for being here. And also my good friend, Mr. Sonny Walker, who is one of our great champions here in the city. And he is now working with the Center for Civil and Human Rights. I think I may have that backwards. But he's working with them to make sure that all of what they say is going to happen, and he has become a part of that team to tell the story. So thank you for being here. And this is Nicholas Goins, our program coordinator. We're going to pull for our, is that one of them? Okay. One of our gifts. The first gift that we're going to give away is going to Harold Thomas. Mr. Thomas, how you doing? And he is with PB Parsons Brinkerhoff. And the gift is Compliments of Accolades Incorporated. The second, okay. There are two other gifts, one that's not here again. One is a golf clinic that's a part of the Atlanta Tribune's golf tournament that's coming up on June 4th. Mr. or Mrs. Housey? Which is it? Okay, Mr. Housey. And that is the golf clinic. So if you can't make it, you can send your... He can make it. Okay, wonderful. Awesome. Thank you for being here. That's right, he'll be out of school. And the last gift, Ormond, every time you come, you win. It's going to be a copy of a book written by Alonzo Lawrence. He is an attorney here in Atlanta. It's not here, Armand. You'll have to come by the office to pick it up, okay? Yes, okay. But it is a book on financing your business. And Alonzo is also a mystery writer. Now, you won't get a copy of that book, but you'll get the one on financing the business. So please come by this week and pick that up, okay? All right, thank you. And all hearts and minds ready? We are going to close out. Please meet someone that you did not know before you came this evening, but come forward and greet these people and tell them, thank them for being here. We're going to take a picture first. We'll take a picture first. Okay.